Good evening, everyone. We welcome you all for today's webinar on entrepreneurship development phases. This webinar has been organized by the III Council in collaboration with the IIC Council of Father Conceição Rodrigues College of Engineering, Bandra. The III, being a national council, is a non-profit organization and a registered public trust. We would like to thank the director of our college, Reverend Father Valerian D'Souza, our Honorable Principal Dr. Shrija Unikrishnan, the HOD of the Production and Mechanical Engineering Department Dr. V.S. Hurapur. The webinar is conducted under the leadership of our Chairperson Khushi Mehta and Vice Chairperson Girish Chawla. Our special thanks to the other council members Path Rathod, Manan Nandwana, Ronak Mistry, Amit Dubey, Shubham Nar, G.S. Joy, Yashovardhan Khiman, and the other council advisors Shrey Pandey, Uday Srivastav, Sahil Shah, and Advait Purav. Our speaker for today is Mr. Surinder KV. He is the founder of TechieGen, which is India's #1 community for upskilling and networking. With more than 8,000 community members, it helps the students with various free resources. What's more fascinating is not what he does, but when he is doing, as he is currently in the third year mechanical engineering from Chennai Institute of Technology. We believe that he is the perfect person to speak on this topic because he himself is currently in the development phase of his startup, but has already reached a very good stage in no time. His insights will definitely help us a lot. I hope you guys are all set for this one. Everyone kindly keep your microphones muted and camera off. There will be a question and answer session in the last 10 minutes of the webinar where you can type your question in the WhatsApp group and I will ask the speaker to answer the same. I request you to kindly start with the presentation, Surinder. Thank you.
Surinder, and I'm the founder of TechieGen, and I'm a third year mechanical engineering student from CIT. And this webinar is not going to be like other webinars, like where they'll be talking about like 15 minutes about the topic, and the rest 45 minutes they'll be like marketing their own company or their own product. I'm not going to market myself or my company's webinar. I'm going to like many entrepreneurs do this. They'll be telling how they started their own company and how the struggles they faced, but they won't tell about how to start a company really from ground zero, from scratch. And that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you step by step. So let's start the presentation. I have a presentation for it. I think I'll share it now. One minute, guys. I'll go with this. I think is my presentation clear? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yes, it's clear right now.
Yeah, all right. So let's actually I've figured the webinar into three parts. So in the first part, I'm going to talk about like what is entrepreneurship and who's an entrepreneur. So what is a startup? So we'll cover the basics in the first part, and on the second part, we'll talk about the how to start a company really from scratch, from ideation to scale up. I'll take you like a 9-step process. It's there, so I'm going to go through it. And on the third part, I'm gonna like talk about the tools and the software which we entrepreneurs use it to make our life easier. So we'll start with the first part, like what is entrepreneurship? Like every entrepreneur creates something of value, and the world is full of opportunities to make other people's life better in either some way. And your job as an entrepreneur is to identify these things that people don't have enough of, and then find a way to provide them. The value you create can take one of most several forms, but the purpose is always the same: to make someone's life better, a little bit better. And without value creation, companies or businesses cannot exist at all. And you cannot transact with each other unless you have something valuable to offer or to trade with them. And the best business in the world are the one that creates more value to less people or less value to more people. So regardless, the more value you create for other people, the better business you will be and the more prosperous you will become. And if these sound simple, it's because they are. Companies and business are not rocket science. It's just a simple uh, process of identifying a problem and then finding a way to solve it, which benefits both parties, your company and your customers. So, anyone who tries to make business sound more complicated than this is either trying to impress you or trying to sell you something that you don't need. A company which doesn't sell value for others is a hobby. A company which doesn't attract each other is a flop. A venture which doesn't sell value it creates is non-profit. A venture that doesn't deliver what it promised is a scam. A venture that doesn't bring in enough money to keep itself operating doesn't exist for a very long time. And all successful companies sell the promise of some combination of money, status, power, love, knowledge, prediction, pleasure, and excitement. So that's like the basics of entrepreneurship. Like you have to know. And we'll go with the next thing. So here are the 5 pillars of entrepreneurship. Like over 90% of the startup fails in the first 3. That the entrepreneur, they start the company even before they know about the basics of how a company functions, the fundamentals of business and company activities. So I don't want you to start like that. So before starting a company, so I want you to self learn, take at least 4 to 6 months to learn the fundamentals of these topics. So let it be finance. For example, take finance. Like you don't have to be the next Warren Buffett or something. You just need to know the basics of it. Like what is profit, what is loss, what is cash flows, and what is in gross margin or cash in cash like that. You have to know it. And for marketing, take you have to know about the online marketing tips, SEO, SEM, content marketing, copywriting. You have to know about. And I just suggest you become a T-shaped person, T-shaped CEO. Like you have to have an in-depth knowledge in any of one of the things and know the fundamentals of the other four. So, for example, take me. I have an in-depth knowledge in marketing, while I have a fundamental knowledge in these 4 things. So, and if you want to improve your value as an entrepreneur, focus improving our skills related to these 5 parts. And these are the basics of every good business idea and business plan. If you can define each of 5 processes of any businesses, you will have a complete understanding of how it works. And if you are thinking how to start a business, defining the process might be looks like the best way to start about it. So make sure you don't have to submit a research paper or thesis in it. But the fundamentals is enough. So we'll go to the next thing. So I'm gonna get through the difference between a startup and a sustainable company. There's a huge difference between it. Startups are designed to disrupt the industry in less than 1 year of the time. So, if, for example, if I'm starting a startup in medical industry, I'll be aiming to disrupt the industry within 6 months or something. So that's called a startup. And a sustainable company is not like that. They'll be aiming to survive in the industry for the next 20 or 30 years. So I want you to create a sustainable company to survive in a very long run. And if you're wondering how to start a sustainable company, so make sure you go through these 4 steps. These are the 4 characteristics of a sustainable company. That's endurance, company culture, long-term success, and going green. I'll take you through these 4 things. And the first one is endurance. So sustainability is a very long-term project, and startups of this kind can take more than 5 years until they reach comfortable success. So make sure you're aware of that and decide to go when you are going in a sustainable route. So you're not gonna disrupt the industry within 1 year of incorporation. So it takes around 10 years to reach your overall success. And company culture. So entrepreneurship is not solely about money. As a company CEO, you'll have the people working for you and depending for you at every point of time. And they put your trust in you and they help you to do things that you cannot do alone. So fast growing unsustainable companies have the tendency to burn out their talent due to immense pressure in tight deadlines and immense pressure. So many of the sustainable startups allow you to build actual relationship with the team. You and your team are going to work tightly together for or probably for a very long time, and facing challenges as a unit will inspire both you and your team in a very long run. And next is going green. So this is a more long-standing misconception that only companies working in green industries or green energy production are directly responsible for environment's protection. That's false. And every single entity in this world, every single company, every single organization, or every single people have the right to do their part. So, in reducing energy consumption, setting up a paper-free office, and encouraging allow to follow this can have a significant impact on your on the environment. In most cases, very small case of investment will be required, and yes, you will have to disclose your documents. And although it should never be the sole motivation for building a sustainable startup, green companies actually make a very good for great marketing. And the next is for uh, long-term success. Yeah, building a fast-growing startup with the sole goal to sell the first opportunity is a terrible mistake. And for example, take you're planting an apple tree. So if you're planting an apple tree, you're going to care for it year after year, and then you cut it to get some firewood. That's a startup. You're cutting the tree as soon as it goes. So don't cut it. So if you're building a sustainable company, you're gonna let the tree mature, harvest the apples, use some to plant new trees, and then sell the rest to buy firewoods. So in a very long run, you'll have a steady growth of supply of income, firewood, and apples, and that's what a sustainable company means. And we'll go with the next thing. So we've come to the second part of a webinar where I'm going to talk about the 9-step startup process from scratch. So in the first introduction part, we've seen the what is entrepreneurship, so and what is sustainable companies, and the 4 pillars of entrepreneurship. And in the second part, we're going to get through to this 9-step process from the start. And I'm going to split the audience into two segments. And the first segment is that people who have an idea to start a company but doesn't know where to start. They're the first type of people. And on the second segment, I'm gonna differentiate that they have an idea but they don't know where to start. So for the both segment, this 9-step process will be like suitable for them. It goes like first need an idea. Ideation is the first thing. You have to have an idea, then validate it through market research and customer attention, and then get a co-founder in your team, and then build an MVP and iterate this three process. The three process will take at least 6 to 8 months, and then form a business model, lean business canvas, and then brand your company, and then set up your company and form a pitch deck, get money and funding, and scale up. I'll get you through this process step by step. So we're coming to the stage one. I'm going to break a long-standing misconception that business are built on ideas. Companies and great business are not built on ideas. They're built only on concept and plan. If you're wondering like what is an idea and what's the difference between an idea and a plan, I'll give you an example. An example for an idea is I'm going to start a Zumba dance studio in Chennai. That's a concept. Sorry, that's a concept actually. The idea is that I'm gonna just start a Zumba dance studio. Just an outline of it is an idea. So when you have a concept, you have to be precise on your goal. You're wondering how to change your idea into your concept. Try answering these two questions, like what is your offering and to whom. So by this answering these two questions, you can change your idea into a concept. So idea is, so what's the offering is that I'm going to offer my Zumba dance studio and to whom, especially for female. So you're gonna precise on what you're going to do. And if you don't know like how to get an idea to start a company or a business, there are various ways to generate ideas and like brainstorming and stuff. I'll get you through the 4-step process of getting an idea of starting a business. So make sure you get a pen and paper or you need to write it down. And the first step is that choose any industry or domain you're interested in. So make sure you choose a domain which are really passionate about, and don't choose it randomly. So after you choose your industry and domain, and then second step is that meet at least 100 customers and ask them one question: what is the biggest challenge you face every day? So make sure you ask this question so at least 100 people. You can use tools like Google Form or Google Surveys to take the survey in it. And then the third step is that shortlist the top 5 common challenges we faced and pick one. So shortlist the 5 common problems and then choose one. Which one you think has a potential and your skills which can help you and it interests you. And now when you pick an idea, create an idea around it, and now start working on making the idea into a reality. Work with prospective customers to co-create it, and keep one thing in mind, that customers will always know more about their problems than we do. And don't worry, if someone steals your idea, ideas are cheap, ideas are everywhere, and nobody can do things which you can do. So that's it. So when you get an idea, so next step is to validate the idea. So you can do the idea validation in these four steps. Like first one is through market research, and then you have to interact with your audience, and then you have to see whether your market needs you or not, needs a product or not. We call it the iron law of market. And after that, we're gonna, this is an important step. Are you enjoying what you're doing? This is an important step in these all 9-step process itself. So in the first step, through market research, it goes like this. So make sure you have a brief layout of your product that includes its features, its users, audience, and benefits. It can be anything like a Word document or a video file. Make sure you document it, brief layout of your product. And after you have the product, search for similar products in the web to know the level of the competition. First, when you validate idea, you have to know the level of competition available for it. And after you do it, if you find any similar products on the web, make sure you cross check every aspect to find any similarities. We call it actually benchmarking. You have to benchmark your similar competitors product, and you have to notice the disadvantages what a companies of other competitors offer. So reverse engineer those uh, disadvantage of your customer or your competitors and make them your advantage. So that's the fourth step we are doing in market research. So after you're done with market research, and if it's accepted, then you go with audience interaction. So this is the most fruitful aspect of the process, and you will get to know some things from the customer's point of view. And you can refer to various online websites and online forums are there for to know about the customer's issue and regarding the existing products. So make an online survey to know about the user's expectation, features that they want in the product, and harness the power of social media by gathering reviews from your social circle or your friend circle, and discuss your idea with the known ones and know how they would like your product be. And make sure that there's no perfect trick actually to know how your idea will be performing in the market. And you can only test and check if it works. And some of the budding entrepreneurs have faced a lot of failures before getting into the point they are today. And the third step is that, does your market needs you or not? Actually, there's a very interesting law called the iron law of market, and it's like every business is fundamentally actually limited by the size and the quality of the market it attempts to serve. And if you create something that no one wants, it's actually waste. And the best approach to do it is to identify what people wants to buy and then go through it. And actually, when if two markets are equally attractive to each other in other respects, you better off choosing the one with competition. So hence why it means that from the start there are markets of playing customers, and thus idea eliminating the biggest risk. Existing of a market means you're already on the right side of the island of market. So you can spend some time in developing your offer instead of proving that the market exists or not. So that's a easy thing to do. And then the fourth one is that, are you enjoying what you're doing? So at last, all of this is not going to last long unless you love it by your heart. Many of us have tried to work in a startup but couldn't carry it forward. The only reason behind this is the lack of interest and passion for it. For example, take, if you're not fond of coding and if you hate programming, then building an app may not be well worth for you. So try working on developing a product or service that you are really passionate about, and spending a few hours validating these four things, and it can really change, really help you in prevent months and years of frustration and misplaced effect. So make sure you don't skip these four things before you start your own company. So once you have an idea, then now we have changed the idea into a concept. Then now we validated your idea, and next step is to find a co-founder. So while finding a great co-founder, assure that he or she has different skill set as compared to yours. This way, both of you can equally contribute to the startup, and the combined contribution of both co-founders will ultimately benefit the startup. So let's consider that you are a developer and have an idea for an innovative product, but when it comes to negotiation, understanding the legalities, and or even hiring people like HR activities, you may not be good at there. So if you find a co-founder, it benefits these qualities, and both of you will end up spending the limited amount of capital in hiring new people. And the capital is one of the most important factors that will play a role in startup survival. So you can find a co-founder by in your personal square, uh, your co-founders networking. There'll be like weekly meets, weekly networking events, and meeting. You can meet a co-founder online in LinkedIn or any other medias. So once you validate the idea, then after that you can find a co-founder, and after that you have to build an MVP. So this is the most important thing in your entrepreneur life. So MVP is expanded as the minimum viable product, and it's actually the most basic version of your product, and which will be built quickly and cheaply. And if you're wondering like why what is an MVP and what is a prototype, and an MVP is actually a product that will be used by your customer or audience, and a prototype is just a draft of your idea. So don't confuse MVP with a prototype. And if you're wondering like why should I build a MVP, and here are the advantages, and you have advantages of building an MVP. It actually saves time and money. MVP has only basic features, which means they are easy to develop and actually require low capital investment. And if you see the product doesn't work in the early stage itself, you can quickly shut it down and move on to something else. And thus, it saves you a lot of time and money. And next thing is that customer feedback. So releasing the MVP is a great way to hear a user's feedback and build more features based on their needs and not what you think they need. That's very important. And the third thing is that generate early leads. Many of your MVP testers may become your customers later on. So they'll feel like they have contributed to the product, so they will become more willing to pay for it rather than go with a competitor solution. We call it as shadow testing. Shadow testing is that make your like yearly leads your customers. So it's a very interesting topic on it. And now when you so next topic is that early adopters. So you have to test your MVP in early adopters. And one good advice I'm going to give you is that don't test your product with your friends and families, because they are, even if your product is very worst, they'll tell it it's good only. So don't go with your friends and to test it. And after you've developed your MVP, the next step is to find a business model. And when this word comes in your mind, you'll immediately hear about that 30 to 40 page business model, business plan, where you'll be having everything. So don't go with it. And you are in a 21st century. As a 21st century entrepreneur, you have to be lean, you have to be agile, and you have to be quickly iterated to anything you face, any uncertainty you face. So don't go with the traditional model of like 30 to 40 page business model. And I suggest you to go with this. Actually, this is a lean business model, and you must have this. This is called the DNA of every business, and make sure you keep it confidential within your team and don't make it public. And you can download it in the Google for free itself. If you type lean canvas model, you can find this template for free. You can download this and you can start filling this. So it's easy to fill. So here it's a problem statement. So here you have to do like a top one or three problems your customers face. You have to specify here, and on the next box you have to fill the solution, and here the USP and what the unique thing you are offering to your customers, your unfair advantage, who's the customers, the customer persona, and your channels, and the cost structure and the revenue. You have to fill this and make sure you don't share it to anyone. That's important. So once you are done with doing your business model, and the next thing you have to do is that branding. So, sorry, product market fit. Actually, it's a funny term, and but here's a concrete way to think about it. When people understand and use a product enough to recognize its value, then that's a huge win. But when they begin to share their positive experience with their friends, when you can replicate the experience with every new user who your existing users tell, then you have the product market fit on your hands. And when this occurs, something magic happens. all of a sudden your customers become your salespeople. Right market fit is when your customers become your salespeople, and it is very important to launch your product. And the next thing is that branding. So branding your startup essentially means to establish an identity for your business. And there's a misconception that branding is only about like logo, the color, the font. Actually, it's not about the logo or color. It's also color. It's actually a an emotional bond between the customer and the brand. So the identity of a brand holds a uniqueness among the other competitors in the market. A brand has its own voice, own personality, own architecture, and makes it recognizable for the people. For instance, when you hear the name Pepsi, what jumps right in your mind? Like certainly their blue ribbon, their logo, their ad, or something related to that drink. So that's the power of branding. When people start visualizing your brand when they hear its name, that's when you consider it established. So building a brand identity is a long-term plan, and there are several organizations which I know that initially avoid this step and are eagerly directly jumped into the operations. So when you build a brand identity from a start, it gradually makes its name to the marketplace. So once it acquires a significant amount of attention, then whatever product you launch, people are bound to show interest in it. They don't have to buy it; they show interest in it, and you can make your sales people or marketing well enough to change those interested people, interested prospects into your customers. So once you've established a perfect and strong branding, then you have to do these steps. So the designing the logo for your organization, and if you have any separated budget for your logo, you can hire some freelancers or agency to do your work, do the logo work, and or you can choose some free tools like Canva or Photoshop. You can design your own logo, and then you can these three steps: building your website, picking a domain name, and finding a hosting. You can do this by Wix or WordPress, and don't go with GoDaddy because their cost structure is way too high for early stage entrepreneurs. And designing and developing a site, and if you have any friends in your computer science department, you can ask them for a help. And as I said before, if you have any budget, you can hire any freelancers to this. And don't do these steps before you validate your idea. That's called the shiny object syndrome. So like even before you validate the idea, you'll be doing your doing a website, doing a business card or something. So don't do these before you validate your idea. And on the next we have, so once you've established your brand, have your website, your domain name, and now is the time to register a startup in India. So when you start register a startup, there are two ways to do it. So the first way is to register a startup in MCA. MCA is called as the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and it comes under the Startup India scheme, and it takes around about like 12,000 rupees plus GST for registering in India. And on the other hand, you have MSME registration. So till last month, the government was charging fees for it, but now they have cancelled the fees and made MSME registration free. And it's just this is a one-page application form. So with PAN or without PAN. So if you fill the form, you'll be getting the company certificate on spot. So I suggest you to go with MSME registration. So once you've taken your company to a certain height, and when you have generated revenue, then you can cancel the MSME registration and then pay for Startup India scheme. So if you're wondering like how can I do it, and what ownership models can I choose? So these are the four ownership models you can choose. It is applicable to both Startup India and MSME. So the proprietorship is like no registration will be required, and legally you are the sole proprietor. And for taxation, your income will be taken as a taxable income, and you cannot actually transfer your ownership to other company or other person. So you will be like the sole responsible for your company. And lastly, that you cannot call in foreign investors to fund your venture. And note that sole proprietorship doesn't count as a startup in India. So make sure and keep that in mind. Proprietorship doesn't count as a startup in India. It's just a asset for you, like how you own a car or how you own your like a real estate car. It's just a means at least two people to start with. You and a co-founder will be perfect for it. And here you may or may not choose to register a company. However, if you registered, you will come under the legalities and compliances applicable for a partnership company. You can search it for it. A partnership firm can be only listed as a startup in India within its 5 years of its incorporation. So after 5 years, it doesn't count as a startup in India. And next thing is very it's called LLP, Limited Liability Partnership, and LLP in India will be comes under the Act of LLP Act of 28, and it comes under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and must have all, at least two partners. And further, in India, an LLP mode of operation will be actually preferred over other resident systems. And there are various benefits as an LLP than other these three, including like operational flexibility, fewer compliances, and among others. And the next thing is like private limited company. So they are registered under the Companies Act of 2013. And to be more precise, a company can have a workforce of around 200 people, and it at least need to have two directors, two C-level members, and 8 directors. And there are additional legal formalities to register a business in India. They have actually various uh, benefits according to your state government. So once you've figured out your ownership model, you can now get into your pitch deck. Pitch deck is nothing but like a brief presentation that provides the investors like who you are and what is your business doing. So just a presentation of it, and don't skip this step. Actually, as an entrepreneur, you don't know when you will meet a potential investor or potential collaborator. So make sure you get ready with this presentation and prepare like a 1 minute pitch, one elevator pitch to face any any investors when you meet in any meeting. So these are the 12 slides you must include in your pitch deck. So first, intro, problem, solution, why, now offering, market, competition, traction, business model, team, financials, and ask. So these are the 12 slides you must include. And once you've completed your pitch deck, the next thing is funding and money. So 90% of startups fail in the first 5 years of the launch, and many of these are because of the money crunch. So and sometimes the founder do not get enough fuel to keep the engine running, and while others fail using it optimally. And therefore, getting a startup funded is important, but gaining the ability to utilize the money smartly also matters. Right from the beginning, you need to start making a startup budget, and that is well within your limits. And here are the 8 ways for you to raise money, and you can take a screenshot of it. And my favorite is bootstrapping, as I bootstrap my company from my own savings. So I suggest you to go with bootstrapping. And I hate bank loans. Don't take bank loans when come to your business. And for the next, as soon as you raised money for a startup, and it's time for scale up. So for scaling up, there are actually many successful companies, like potential billion-dollar companies who had premature scale ups. So you need to know when to scale up and when to not. That's the important thing. And scaling is like the work in progress, and you need to leverage foolproof marketing strategies for keeping up with the growth momentum. And adopt marketing strategies, ensure user engagement, customer relationship management, and convinces them to take the desired action. And once the most important things to understand in how to start a startup is practicing foolproof marketing strategies, like email marketing, social media marketing, like that. And with these marketing strategies, will be gaining the attention of audience and exciting their thinking neurons. And if their product is something that customers really want, they will come, they will engage and reach you out. So, so building status signals into your offer is the most effective way to increase your appeal to the target market. So we'll so that's the end of the second topic, and I'll give you a brief outline of how it went. So this is the outline of the our 9 stage startup process. And the first step is ideation. So first you must have an idea, then validate it, and after you validate the idea, then find a co-founder and your dream team. So once you find your partner in crime, then you must build your MVP. So MVP is called as a minimum viable product. So these first 3 steps take at least 6 months, 6 to 1 month to iterate it. So if sell your MVP to your early adopters, take feedbacks from them, and then iterate the product, and again give them and take feedbacks, iterate the product. So to do at least like 20 steps, 20 iterations, and once the product market fit, and then make a business model and then start it. So you have to do branding. So branding is more important in this digital world, and then incorporate the company with those four ownership models: proprietorship, LLP, partnership, and like private limited. And um, and make sure you have a good pitch deck. So pitch deck is more important as an entrepreneur. So, and after that, money. So money and funding is important because 90% of startup fail within the first 5 years. And that's because lack of capital. So once you have the right money and right funding, and you have to know when to scale up and when to start up. Without having the expertise, you can't scale up to like $1 million company. You have to know when to scale up and when to not, even if you have the potential to do so. So that's the end of the second part of the webinar. And now I'm going to like quickly go to the third part, where I'll be like giving you the tools for getting us tools for tips for budding entrepreneurs. So quickly, you can take a screenshot or an write it down in your notes. So when choosing a name is more difficult than choosing the idea. Trust me, I've like wasted around 3 to 4 months in choosing the right name for my startup. So you can use these four artificial intelligence websites, AI websites, to generate a name for free, and you can take. If you have a name, you can go with name, or if you don't have a name, you can go with this. And I'll change slide. And as I said before, if you have a separate budget for logo and designing a website, make sure you hire some agencies or freelancers in it. And if you don't have a budget for it, you can use Canva and Logo Garden. And these two websites are for freelancers. Use Canva for it. I've used it to create this presentation. It's actually free and it's awesome. And market research, I've said about you to the four steps. It's like the make a brief layout, and search the level of competition. You can search the level of competition using Google Trends, and like how much the keyword is being searched in your area. And you can take Google surveys, when you take census viewers, you can use these tips for it. Actually, everything is absolutely free. So here are some social media tools. You can use it to like make a content marketing plan for the next 90 days or 1 month. You can use it to create the plan for it. And here comes the favorite part. And the virus have gave us a way to uh, like uh, work from home is like very famous in nowadays. And the project management software like Asana and Slack will be like a virtual workplace. It's everything is free. You actually have a paid plan and a free plan. So go with free plan. It's easy and useful for you in the long run. And customer service. So this is the like hidden gem in for many startups actually fail because of poor customer service. If you have a good customer service right from the start, right from ground zero, right from your ideation stage, you'll be having good sales, and you'll be good in business, good in life too. So the payment system, these are the four types of payment system. InstaMojo is my favorite, and Razorpay is my favorite. And you have to have a bank account and a PAN card to generate a payment gateway. So make sure you have a GST number too for getting tax to the government. And funding platforms. Actually, I don't believe in these platforms, but it might be useful for you. So take a screenshot in it. And this is the same thing I've told you about CRM software, Infusionsoft, HubSpot CRM, Flick, and Content Flow. HubSpot is my favorite. I use it for the past 6 months. I use the free plan actually. It's awesome. You have to try it. So email marketing platform, MailChimp, Sentinelblue, HubSpot, and Sendy. I use HubSpot here also. You can check out MailChimp is actually free. And HubSpot is actually, I think it's premium. I'm not sure. And here are the analytics tool. So if you have a website or a landing page, you have to know what page or customers are you visitors are visiting, and which place they are visiting and which time they are visiting, the heat map of your website. So everything will be available on Google Analytics. This you have to go with Google Analytics. It's compulsion in every business you are. Make sure you like. There's also Google Analytics Academy in Google, so you can go and study it. So that's the end of the webinar. I'm going to wrap up my presentation over here, and thank you for attending this webinar. And this is my first ever webinar, and thank you for attending this. And thanks Kushi and her team for inviting me and giving this opportunity. So if you have any problems or any questions or any troubles in it, you can text me or email me in this email. So I'll be reaching out within 2 days. So thank you so much.
Okay, so now we can start with the question and answer session. So I kindly request the participants to type their questions in the WhatsApp group, and so the speaker will answer the same.
So hey Shivaram, thank you for your questions. Your question is, what's the use of MVP and why it is required for a startup? Actually, MVP is like a startup. So you'll have an opportunity to test your product before getting into the market. So you'll be hiring some customers, potential customers, and then testing your MVP with them. So with their feedbacks and their suggestions, you'll be able to iterate the process and make sure your product is well good for the product and market fit, which I told you before. And that is very important questions. Thank you for asking this, Shivaram. Yeah, I have another question. Is the process same for other domain companies on it? Yes, it's actually same for every companies, every domain. You have to follow you have to follow this process, 9-step process. You have to have an MVP, you have to do branding, you have to do pitch deck. Everything is common for if you have a you need to build a strong company or a successful business, you have to follow these steps. And another question by Sai Vamshi. My question is, what qualities should I look in my co-founder? Yeah, that's a good question. See, if I'll take myself. Actually, I don't know programming or any coding thing. So I have a co-founder who knows coding. So make sure you hire the co-founder in your disadvantage thing. If I'm not good in programming or something, I'll be hiring someone who's good at programming. So that's where you have to do the trick. Another question, what's my question is what's the most difficult phase in entrepreneurship development? Yeah, that's a question. What's the most difficult phase in entrepreneurship development? I'll get you through it. So we have another question by Krishna Prasad. Could you please explain me in detail about the difference between the MVP and a prototype? Actually, prototype is like a 12th standard science project is called a prototype, but an MVP cannot can be released to the directly to customers. A prototype cannot be released by the customers and just a showcase by your idea. Like if you have something in your mind, you'll be sketching it in the note, right? That same thing is prototype. Cannot release it to customers, but MVP you can release it to the customers. Yeah, potential customers. I have another question. With the age of digital technology, do you feel that core mechanical startups are dwindling? Yes, they are dwindling. And if someone wants is looking to start a core company, and what should he be doing? Look, for if you want to start a company in core business area, core mechanical area, and please actually work for at least like 5 to 10 years in a core mechanical startup or a company. So you can't just start a startup right out of college, a mechanical startup. So you must have experience at least 5 to 10 years, and then based on the experience and based on what problems you see in the industry, you can get some funding in it, and you can use your savings to start a startup. So you can go with it. And next question, how should we get a good name for startup company? As I said, you can use use those four name generation software, or you can brainstorm it with your team to get a good thing. And for getting a good name, don't waste your time at the starting ideation process itself. So once you finish everything at the last, get a good name. So it will be as a barrier if you start thinking the name of your startup at the beginning itself. So keep it at the end. Hello, Surendra. How did you know when you had the right idea, and how did you handle adversity and doubts? Actually, yeah, great companies and great legendary business are not built on great ideas. Many companies are started with a simple idea. For example, take Facebook. Facebook was started by a 17-year-old, 19-year-old college student only for college guys. Facebook was initially for only for college, and then it evolved into something big. So don't start thinking big. Think small and then evolve big. That's my advice. And how to find user for MVP. So first, like if you're doing something, have to have a customer persona. A customer persona is like skeleton of your customers, their demographics, their age, their interests, their behaviors, their psychology, everything. You have to have a customer persona, and then find a person for him. You can like take Google Forms, and then take surveys. Or if you're doing a startup in core mechanical areas, then you can take some advice of some working professionals and do some stuff. So I'll be sharing my presentation in the WhatsApp group, so you'll be able to like go through it once the webinar is over. Next question: can I be a part of Techies? And yeah, Shivaram. Once the college starts, I'll talk to you. Uh, Another question by Yuresh. A well-developed startup company is called startup is determined to be developed under what criteria? Can you please elaborate, Yuresh? I cannot understand your question actually. Sorry for it. Can you like please elaborate on it a little bit? So another question is that without any skills, we can start a startup company, or with experience, we should start a startup. That's my first point. Don't start any company without any skills. You must have at least one high payable skill. For example, you must know good about marketing, or you have to be good at finance. You have to be good at leadership. So don't stand blindly without having any skills or. That's what I said. You have to like spend at least 4 to 6 months in self learning all these like five pillars of entrepreneurship. So don't start it. Experience doesn't matter. Actually, I have zero experience. I haven't done any internship in any companies. I've started it. So experience doesn't matter. Only skills matter. You can gain experience when you start a startup. Even if you fail, it's a good thing only. And yeah, another good question. Why do you think that today most of the engineering graduates, especially, are focusing on jobs only? How much does the current educational system have a role to play? And actually, Techism has a role actually. We are actually doing to tackle this issue. Even many of my friends, when I asked them to like join my startup, they said I'm going to do this joint placements. I don't know, like in the next 5 or 10 years, they actually the university degree will be useless. Many companies have been started their own university. Take Google or Microsoft; they have their own university, Google University and Microsoft University, and they won't be hiring freshers anymore. So upskilling is the only thing that you have to be like to face any uncertainty, and you have to like stand in your own legs. So I don't think that placement going to placement will not be good in the long run. You'll be spending your entire 20s and 30s like in a 9 to 5 jobs, and after that you'll be in a place where nowhere to go. When you think back in your life, will be like 20 to 30 years will be passed by, nothing will be achieving in your life. So make sure you choose what you love and what you about a passion. And passion is important. Another question is that how to know whether our idea or product is already found by someone. For 2 million, actually, no idea in this world is unique. Like even if you think something somewhere in the world, someone might have been implemented that idea. So don't think everything is unique. And you, if you have competitors, that's good for you. And I don't call competitors as a competitors. They are my collaborators. So you must work with them closely and make sure you have a good place in the market. What's the efficient and attractive way to present a startup pitch? That's a very very brief, and we have to have a separate session for it. Make sure you go through some Shark Tank videos to like know how they pitch it. So you can go to YouTube and search Shark Tank Australia. There'll be like investors sitting and people, entrepreneurs will be pitching the idea into for them to get funding. So it's a very interesting show. You can surely watch it. And another questions, what is the first step to start a startup? I'm having an idea and I found my co-founder, but I'm not having clear idea of it. So actually, you have already passed the difficult phase. Many budding entrepreneurs face difficulties in the ideation stage itself. If you actually have an idea, though, you have an idea, you have a co-founder, I don't know why you're waiting for. Just start it, okay? Nothing is going to happen. You have college, right? You start a startup in college. You have a cushion. Even if you fail, you have your family, you have your friends too, and you have your staff to like protect you and have your back. Just start it anyway. Even if it fails, you can wear it as a badge of honor. Nothing good. So what are the basic? Another question is that what are the basic qualities of a person who needs to start up? So you don't have to have a separate skill set. Just have three P's. We call it three P's. Passion, persistence, and perseverance are more important. Make sure you have these three P's well and good before you like start anything. Not only startup, anything in your life, you have to have passion, persistence, and perseverance. So what was the main skill when you had a startup? So I had a good marketing knowledge. I had good knowledge about SEO. I had know about content marketing, copywriting, and I had some good interest and passion in marketing field. And another question is how can develop your skills? Yeah, I think if you have a phone, you'll be in the home screen. There'll be like a Google icon. There'll be there. If you search in the Google icon, the entire 4-year degree program will be available in YouTube. So you don't have to like study 4-year engineering. So even more than that, they'll be available in YouTube. And if you have everything's available in the phone itself. So it's a matter of how you use your mobile technology. Very simple. How you use your phone is more important in your 20s, in your college, in your teenage age. Could you share your experience when you started Techizin? That's a good question, but it's just been 3 months since I've started Techizin, so that's very. Uh, Now there's a debatable question over here. Is certification important or skill important? For me, skill is important. I don't go for certification. As I said before, right? The next 5 years, university education will be useless. So there will be no user certification anymore. You just need to have the right skills and the right mindset, growth mindset, and have the knowledge to like how to implement those learned skill in the everyday life. That's very important. Then certification. It's a piece of paper unless you implement those skills. So another question here is, what are the points to consider when doing market research? So I'll take you to the 4-step process again. So first you have to do is that you have to have a brief layout of your product that includes its features, its uses, its audience, and benefits. So make sure you have a brief layout of it. It can be a document folder or a YouTube or a video. So make sure you have a brief layout of it, mind map it, and it could be any format you want. So after you have a brief layout of a product, go to Google and search similar products for the on the web to know the level of competition. So you have to know who are the players you're tackling with, your competitors, your potential collaborators. You have to know who's on the field with you. So after you find your similar products on the web, make sure you cross check with them with every aspect of similarities. So we call it as benchmarking. So keep your market in the left hand side, and on the right hand side you will be having the competitors product. So find the disadvantage and the disadvantage and flaws in your competitors product, and make those disadvantages your advantages, and iterate the product. So that's called benchmarking. And after that you have to refer customer reviews. You can refer to customer reviews in Google reviews or Amazon reviews. Is it's more useful as a hidden gem actually, Amazon reviews. And you can improve the products in it.
Sorry to interrupt, Surender.
Yeah.
So, guys, due to shortage of time, we cannot take more questions. He has shared his contacts, and you guys can contact him and ask your further questions. Definitely. So, so now we move on to the end of the session, and I thank Mr. Surender KV for dedicating his time and efforts in making this webinar a successful one. Also, thank you everyone for attending this webinar, and we hope that you all liked it and was up to your expectations. Please do fill in the feedback form to avail the certificates and help us know what your views and feedbacks are. Thank you all and have a nice day.